for Damso and Hodgson in the final special stage saw the gap grow to 1 minute and 25 seconds. Lawrence and Paisley were now just 7 seconds behind the works crew, with the scene set for Day 2 fireworks. An earlier start than normal on national events. The late drama in the final special stage of Day 1 left Stanek Rally Championship leaders Jan Habak and Doug Judd a comfortable 85 seconds ahead of Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson, with crews heading into much the same territory as on Day 1. Once again, the meat of the rally was in the Longmoor Forest, with a long and hot day ahead for the competitors. The opening special stage of the day provided for more drama and presented overnight leaders Jan Habak and Doug Judd with an early headache. The VW Motorsport Golf ran into brake problems on the way to the Longmoor Forests and went into the stage with no front brakes. Habak and Judd decided that discretion was the better part of valor, and this meant not pushing their luck in the special stage. It was a question of just how much time they would lose to Damso and Hodgson, who had no option but to throw caution to the wind. Victory on the VW Rally was a must for Damso and Hodgson, and the battle lines for the day were drawn when the Castrol Toyota crew took 31 seconds off Habak and Judd, and the gap was down to 54 seconds. Team total pair Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley started the day only 7 seconds behind Damso and Hodgson, and they decided to try and keep as much pressure as possible on the works car ahead of them.
Try and keep the pressure on as much as I can, and then, you know, just try and hold position. Then, if that guy stay in front of the guy in front of at the back of me, and build up a lead, because you never know. You know, a puncher can put you out right at the end. That happened with us in the Allowell North Rally.
While Lawrence and Paisley were in a pretty comfortable third place, a log jam was developing behind them. Class A6 leaders Hergen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the Dunair Toyota Corolla were under pressure from Class A7 leaders Tony Ball and Marty Olivier in the Bulwer Park VW Golf. Ball, a Durban garage owner, is hugely experienced and was having by far his best outing of the season. Also creeping up the leaderboard were Fernando Rueda and Jill Tarleton in the Daewoo Lanos. While up at the Central Service Park, Habak was not yet ready to hoist up the distress signal flags, but VW Motorsport technicians were hastily working on the factory Golf 4's brakes.
Yeah, our plan unraveled a bit early this morning. On the way to the start of the stage, we had a leak on the front brakes, on a brake pipe. So we were going to 70 kilometers without front brakes, and you know, we had to decide on tactics, and I decided to rather take it a bit cautiously. So we dropped 31 seconds off our lead, but I think, you know, we got through without any major incidents in the stage itself. So I think that was okay, not too bad under the circumstances.
Special stage 9 and more drama. While Hannes Fobler and Nick Haddon still had a tight hold on the Group N category and Class N3 in their Bridgestone Nissan Sentra, there was an early boost for Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris in the Team Total Toyota Corolla. They suddenly found themselves leading Class A6 when Fecken and Lukowitz went out with suspension problems. Port Elizabeth crew Keith Coleman and Uwe Koch were still running second to Ball and Olivier in Class A7, and Craig Trott and Brian Duncan moved up a notch in Class A6 following the disappearance of Fecken and Lukowitz. After missing the previous round of the Stanek Championship, Diffie Moreira and Dani Duval were having an impressive run in the Toyota Corolla. They still led Class N2 by a comfortable margin, were looking at a top 10 finish, and were chasing after Coleman and Koch. Also having a good run were Cape driver Richard Bairm and Ashley Pedica in the Palbin Toyota Conquest, who were second in Class N2. Behind the Palbin Toyota, new Class S20 leaders Doug Kemsley and Steve Promelar in the top car Fuchs BMW were coming under pressure from an interesting VW Motorsport entry in the VW Player, which was also running in Class S20. Driven by the experienced husband and wife team of Ben and Isabel van der Westhuizen, the Player is in its development stages, with Volkswagen making full use of their own rally to evaluate the performance of this 1.6-litre 16-valve car, which was running like clockwork. Special Stage 9 also saw the demise of Hauteng crew Robin and David Goodman, who retired a very sick-sounding VW Golf. Cruising merrily along were National Championship rookies Mike Houghton and Brian Doherty, who were leading Class N1 in the Toy Toy Spares Toyota Taz. While Houghton and Doherty were looking to protect a 100% finish record this season and score their first national victory, Ben van der Westhuizen was enthusing over the potential of the VW Player.
Well, we're actually very pleased with the performance of the car at this stage. As you say, brand new, built in about 2 weeks' time. The car is staying together very well, and we're very impressed with The performance-wise, being a development car, seeing what's happening, we're actually very happy at this stage. Last stage we had a very good time. We were very close to the RSIs. Dean only took 3 seconds of us. We managed to beat the 16 valves, and we're actually very pleased at this stage with the performance.
Special Stage 10 and rally leaders Jan Habak and Doug Judd were now under some serious pressure. Damso and Hodgson took another 18 seconds off them in Stage 9, and the lead was now down to 36 seconds.
You fork right off this road, 100.
The VW Motorsport factory crew were now being troubled by excessive tyre wear on the long forest and mountain special stages. And behind them, Castrol Toyota pair Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson were going like the clappers. In just 2 special stages, they took 59 seconds off the overnight leaders, and another 14 seconds on special stage 10 brought the gap down to 22 seconds. The VW Rally had come alive, but behind the 2 factory cars, Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley had decided the pace up front was madness. They'd settled for a more conservative approach and a podium finish. Behind the 3 leading Class A8 cars, Class A7 leaders Tony Ball and Marty Olivier in the Bulwer Park VW Golf were involved in a battle with Group N leaders Hannes Krobber and Nick Haddon in the total Bridgestone Nissan Sentra and the Rouer de Talton Daewoo Lanos, with less than 10 seconds separating the trio. Next up were Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris in the team total Toyota Corolla, who were looking no further than the Class A6 win that would take them to the top of the championship log, ahead of the now departed Fecken and Lukowitz. While the younger Damso was in cruise mode, Damso Senior was pondering the wisdom of the frantic pace being set at the front of the field.
Well, I don't know how both of us are still on the road, because I think we're driving like maniacs at the moment, so I just hope we both get to the end of the rally. Yesterday our tyres were a bit too soft, so we went to a bit slightly harder compound, which seemed to be lasting a bit better.
The last of the lengthy Longmore Forest special stages caught up with Fernando Rueda and Jill Talton, and they were to retire when an oil pipe broke and the Daewoo Lanos lost all its lubricants. Stage 11 was also to be the final act of the VW Rally for local crew Gijs Klein and Johan Barnard in the team total VW Golf. 3 other crews, including Class S20 frontrunners Kemsley and Hobbelaar and Class N1 championship leaders Rodney Fasahi and Carolyn Chimmer, dropped out on Stage 11. Amid the carnage, battle in Class N2 continued between Diffie Murer and Donny Duval in the Toyota Corolla and Richard Behm and Ashley Herricka in the Palbin Toyota Conquest. Murer and Duval were handily placed, but Behm and Herricka were now under a little pressure from Class N2 championship leaders Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper, who were desperately trying to salvage every point they could muster after a disappointing day 1. Team van der Westhuizen and the development VW Motorsport player, driving past the stranded Daewoo Lanos, now led Class S20 and were eyeing a possible top 10 finish. KwaZulu-Natal crew Chris DeWitt and Alec Harris were also to find themselves listed among the non-finishers, along with veteran rallyist Spotty Woodhead and Terry Porter. Still going strong were Class N1 leaders Mike Houghton and Brian Doherty, who were also contenders in the Top Car Challenge for privateers, but Cape crew Pierre Hoersen and Dave Gregory were also headed for retirement. The high attrition rate also decimated the Class A7 ranks, and Opel pair Graham Bishop and Teresa Evans found themselves on course for an unexpected 3rd in class. Behind them, local pair Johan Stradum and Mornay Ferreira were also on course for a good finish in Class S1, while up at the service point, Richard Behm was studying the Class N2 options.
Yeah, it is getting hot, weather and the rallying. The struggle is to try to keep Dean Saunders behind me. We've been going the whole day. He's been a minute behind me and he's slowly catching, but hopefully I can keep it up and keep him behind me and come second. Diffie's way ahead in the lead. He's still got 3 minutes on us, so he's sort of out of the picture, but the scrap is between Dean and me.
With their lead now down to only 9 seconds, Jan Habak and Doug Judd were delighted to say farewell to the Longmore Forests. And Special Stage 14, an all-tar affair back in Uitenhage, was the turning point of the rally. A gear selection problem suddenly surfaced for Castrol Toyota pair Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson and effectively snuffed out what had been a stirring fight back. The Castrol Toyota pair dropped 6 seconds to the VW Motorsport crew, and with only 2 short tar stages remaining, hopes of a dramatic win had disappeared. Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley were almost assured of the final podium spot, but problems in the Longmore Forests when they lost power steering had dropped Class A7 leaders Tony Ball and Marty Olivier back to 5th. Moving ahead of the Bulwer Park VW Golf were Hannes Krobler and Nick Hadden in what was a tremendous performance for a Group N entry. Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aries were 4 minutes ahead of Trott and Duncan in Class A6, while Morer and Duval were a minute ahead of Behm and Herricker in Class N2, with championship leaders Saunders and Hooper still a minute adrift in 3rd place. For Saunders and Hooper, niggly late problems were just not helping their cause. Under the guidance of track racing star Terry Moss, the Aldo Scribanti circuit in Port Elizabeth has undergone something of a facelift in recent months, with a 5-kilometre super special stage, the last real hope Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson had of sneaking a win via the back door. With a 15-second lead, Jan Habak and Doug Judd needed really only to keep the VW Motorsport Golf going to make sure of their 5th win in 6 outings in this year's Stanek Rally Championship. Before the start of the stage, both the VW and Castrol Toyota teams played a little cat-and-mouse game over tyre choices, but it was all really rather academic at this stage of the rally. Habak and Judd picked up another second on Damso and Hodgson, and with only a short spectator stage remaining at Kings Beach, it was all over by the shouting. The matchup between the Krobler-Hadden Group N Nissan and the Damso-Aris A6 Toyota was never going to produce fireworks. Taking full advantage of the absence of KwaZulu-Natal crew Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen, the ever-cheerful Krobler was quietly putting the finishing touches to a result that would cement championship leads in both the Group N and Class N3 categories. Late battles were still raging between Craig Trott and Brian Duncan in the total Toyota Conquest, and local crew Keith Coleman and Uwe Koch, who were dealt a cruel blow on the final stage. They eventually had to push the VW Golf out of the stage, and in losing nearly 2 minutes, they dropped from 7th down to 9th, with Trott and Duncan picking up a late place or 2 in the team total Toyota Conquest. There was plenty of other entertainment for the huge crowd that packed Kings Beach, with 2 punctured tyres, a late blow for Class S20 winners Ben and Isabel van der Westhuizen in the VW Motorsport Player. Robin Halton and Brian Doherty clinched Class S1 and the Top Car Challenge, with Dave Crossley and John Floyd second in Class N3, albeit 26 minutes adrift of Krobler and Hadden. Wayne and Dave Watt were second in Class N1, with Colin Meilman and Jan Symes second in Class S20 in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, to give Top Car journalist Meilman his first finish on a national event. And to cap it all, Dolph Coetzee and Eddie van der Walt, who dropped out of the event earlier in the day but decided to complete the final 2 stages, were on hand to provide a little assistance for Joe Perino and Mark Irvin. Victory by 15 seconds for Jan Habak and Doug Judd saw the VW Motorsport crew take a 28-point lead in the championship with 2 events to go. A marvellous performance by Hannes Krobler and Nick Hadden to win the Group N category and finish 4th overall, and top 10 finishes for 2 other Group N crews. For Habak and Judd, it was a repeat of their win on the VW Rally last year, but it was a little too close for Habak's liking.
Well, I think it gives us a slight edge for the rest of the season, but I must tell you, for today I thought it was going to slide away. We really had a lot of problems with the tyres, and we just couldn't match the times until we got to the shorter stages, then we were okay. But it was definitely getting a bit close near the end.
In recent events, Krobler and Hadden have also developed a taste for the bubbly.
I think we've got now quite a good lead in the Group N series, but it's not over. I mean, there's 2 rallies to go and anything can happen. So we're going to just hope in the Cape it's going to go well, and maybe in the Cape we can run.